Well, Blake, 4 years ago, January, before the world changed, shut down,
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to spend a week in San Diego, California at Whitecaps training camp. And we were organizing guests with local ties to San Diego. We said, Thatcher Demko's from San Diego. Well, next thing we know, his dad, Brenton Demko, is driving out to our hotel to sit down and do an interview with us poolside, as I recall.
To talk about a young goaltender, burgeoning goaltender, yes.
And he's on the dad's trip with the Canucks, and Brenton Demko joins us from Seattle. How you doing, Brenton? Good to see you again.
I'm doing well. Good to see you guys.
Your first dad's trip.
Yes.
Explain.
Like we were just chatting briefly, due to COVID and, some other issues, there has not been one since Thatch has been with the Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this year they've organized it. And, when Thatch called with the news, I was pretty thrilled. Just having an absolute blast.
It's a shared experience in a lot of ways, isn't it? Being a hockey dad, there's probably just a lot of commonalities. Guys telling stories on this trip that you're like, yeah, that happened to us too. And that's it must be a little affirming just to know that everybody's sort of been in the same boat over the last couple of decades.
No, absolutely, and it's interesting to hear because, I still get nervous during games, and it's great to hear that other dads also are still getting nervous during games. And so, but you're right, a lot of similar stories. I don't think that I've heard one that I haven't heard before, either through personal experience or just knowing other hockey dads. And so there is quite a bit of commonality.
I sit beside goalie dads all the time. Did last night, in fact, watching my daughter's game, and it's that extra bit of nerves, at least at the minor hockey level. When your son's an all-star, do some of the nerves go away? Like, he's good, he can do it, or is it still kind of the same as it always has been?
It's always the same as it has been.
Yeah.
I thought it would start waning a little bit, but no, unfortunately not.
Brenton, tell us about your experiences there with all the dads. Like, do they have an itinerary for you? Or are you guys on your own? Like, describe how the mechanics of this works day to day.
No, there is an itinerary. Yesterday it was a team day off, and they organized an event out at a Top Golf thing where we all got to smack some balls around and just kind of socialize and get to know the other dads a little bit better. And other than that, it's like this morning we're heading off to the team morning skate here in a little bit. And so they've done a very good job on organizing events to kind of keep us in the mix and truly experience what the team goes through on a day-by-day basis while they're on the road.
Who have you been sitting beside watching the games with?
I hate to admit this, but I sat by myself because
goalie dad.
Yeah, I think it was Mr. Bluger was sitting maybe one seat over from me, but I was kind of in my one chair, just chewing my gum and doing my thing. So
yeah. Poor Mr. DeSmith. Did he require some consoling in Minnesota?
No, I mean, that's the thing with goalie parents. I mean, we understand there's games that happen like that. And, I was even talking to Thatch about it. And, at certain points, games like that just kind of take on a life of their own.
They really do.
And as a goalie, it just reaches a point where you just have to go out there and chuckle about it and just pretend you're at shinny or something and just, get through that. And so we did briefly talk about it, but it was no big issue.
I don't know that the dad's trips or the mentor's trips have always got a juggernaut game. But you guys stepped into one in Denver, especially with that Minnesota game sort of as the backstory. That game felt like there was something on the line. I think both teams took it that way too.
Yeah, I was very interested to see how that was going to play out because of the travel, the altitude. The game the day before, and it felt like a playoff game. And I know that's a cliche term that people start throwing around this time of year, but I mean, the electricity in the arena was just off the charts. And I thought that both teams played extraordinarily well. I would love to see that matchup at some point in the future.
Yeah, hopefully with a Stanley Cup berth on the line, perhaps, huh?
Yeah, possibly.
Tell us about Kuldip Bains, you had a heartfelt post and a photo with the two of you watching the game the other night as Arshdeep made his NHL debut.
Yeah, it was brought back a lot of memories from when we flew up to Vancouver to watch Thatch play in his debut against Columbus 4 or 5 years ago, whatever that was now. And I just remember how nervous I was that game. And the dad that just happened to be in town was Tim Horvat. And, Tim kind of took me aside for a second and just checked in on me to see how I was doing with my nerves. So I was able to do that with Kuldip. I had met him in the team room before we went to the game. We were just kind of saying, hey, is this tonight going to be the night? I have a good feeling tonight's going to be the night. And then when he came out and did his lap, I just had to go over and share a couple words with Kuldip just because I'd been there 5 years ago, I think it's now been. And it was just good to share that experience with him.
And it was such a good performance. I'm sure all of you were sort of giving Kuldip a pat on the back there because it was a job well done by his son, wasn't it?
Well, imagine this. So he's on the road in his first NHL game, and he's lined up opposite of Mikko Rantanen with McKinnon and Drouin and Makar on that line for his first shift in the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Memorable stuff.
Yeah.
Well, but also he's watching it with a bunch of people who he really has just gotten to know in the days and hours beforehand, knowing full well the camera may be on me at certain times.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, no, he was great. And I just think that he really had the opportunity to soak it in. I'm sure perfect world, maybe he would have been great to be surrounded by family and friends that he's been with, all through Arshdeep's career up to this point. But it was awesome. I just was really, really grateful that I was able to share that moment with him.
Dakota Joshua's brother, Brock Besser's brother, are on the trip. Are the dads keeping up with the Young Bucks?
Yeah, he was Brock and his brother Paul were in my golf little group yesterday, so I got to know Paul a little bit yesterday and had some friendly competition with him on the golf simulator thing. And I was able to talk to Dakota's brother for a little bit as well. But no, they're great. They're fitting in right with the group, and it's great to have them on board as well.
Hey, last time we talked to you, California hockey, it's coming, man. It's coming.
Yeah, it's I've been a little bit out of the loop lately, and part of that is it's unfortunate, but the rink that Thatch grew up playing a lot of his youth hockey in has closed down, and so San Diego specifically, we lost 2 sheets of ice. But the good news, I guess, is that the Anaheim Junior Ducks program has kind of folded. I don't want to say folded in the Junior Gulls program, but they manage one of the rinks now here down in San Diego. And so some of the numbers of youth participation in San Diego specifically have dropped, but a lot of those kids, when they need the AAA experience, they're still able to get up to Anaheim and LA. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. Hopefully somebody will come in and put another rink in San Diego because there is a demand, and it's just one of those things that I don't know the specific ins and outs as to why that rink closed, but I don't think it's ever been stronger. The Kings are doing okay this year. The Ducks hopefully will start turning around a little bit, because that always seems to, when those two teams have the intense rivalry, always seems to build the interest as it goes. And so right now I'd say from an NHL standpoint, maybe the California teams aren't doing great, but there's still the desire there and the interest level at the grassroots level for sure.
Yeah, I was talking developmentally. In fact, there's a kid, Trevor Connolly. He's spent some time with the San Diego Gulls from Tustin, California. He'll be a first-round pick this year.
Shortly after we chatted with you, the bubble experience was given to Thatcher, and that went about as well as we could have expected. They went on a storybook run, but of course that wasn't in front of fans, wasn't in Vancouver. Is Thatch shared anything with you about his excitement about playoff hockey in Vancouver with fans and what that might be like for him this year?
Yeah, I think it's it's the goal every year, and you guys know that because we talk about it every year, and the first hurdle, I guess, is done, and that was getting out of the gate strong, and that was the team mentality. Thatch and I think the entire team was in town early this year because they wanted to continue the standards that they'd started to set at the end of last year. And now that you got over that hump, and okay, we came out of the gate strong, and then everybody was expecting the Canucks to drop off, and that didn't happen. And now you're facing the playoffs, and the fact that yes, we have a legitimate shot of getting there and being able to play in front of our fans. I mean, we've talked briefly about it. It's Thatch likes to stay in the moment, and
there's no X beside the name just yet, so I understand that. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And so, but we have had minor chats about it, and so I know that the excitement is there, but the team truly is focused just on tonight's game, and then after tonight's over, the focus on the Bruins on Saturday. So it's a testament to the coaching staff as well. I was fortunate, they've introduced themselves. They've been very gracious. I've talked to Patrick Alvin a couple of times. I actually just met Ian Clark for the first time this morning.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's been great. And I think that the team from the coaching staff down truly has the right mindset heading into this final stretch run.
Hey, Brenton, Thatcher's a Vezina candidate this year, first goaltender to 30 wins. Compare and contrast a little bit, this year and the feeling and the enjoyment compared to last year when sadly he's injured for most of the year and really didn't find his game till late.
I think the health component to it has just been huge. And, especially for Thatch when his body doesn't, I guess, keep up with the rest of what he's trying to achieve. That's just the worst feeling for any athlete, I think, because that you've got the ability, you've got the desire to go out there and be better every day and contribute. And when you physically can't do that, that just takes such a toll on you mentally. And so, Thatch worked with his people and took the time to really get mentally stronger, physically stronger. I don't think he's ever been in better shape. And so, he's seeing the fruits of that and being able to look back of some of the dark times from last year and saying, yeah, okay, I had to go through that just given my circumstance, and make sure that he used that downtime in the right way. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, and it is a lot more fun going to the rink when you're able to compete at the level that you can.
Yeah.
You guys aren't done in Seattle, are you? Is everybody coming back for the Bruins game? I mean, it's hard to, draw a finish line because I'm sure it's fun and all that. But tell me, you guys are coming back for the Bruins game.
Well, I think they're flying us to Vancouver, but I think that's when the dad trip ends.
Yeah.
I personally am staying through Monday because I do want to see the Bruins game, but I'm also wanting to visit with my grandson.
Very nice.
Well, enjoy that time, and let's hope they get you and the dads a win here in Seattle.
I'm cheering along those same lines for sure.
Great stuff, Brenton. Thanks for this. Great catching up with you. Be well.
No problem. Take care. Thanks.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.